our first duel of the day, a bubble match. We begin with the blue chair. Hailing from Elmont, New York, Pascal Manigat. He played basketball in high school and college as a guard. Now to the red chair. From Chicago, Illinois, we have Robert Creamer. He loves video games. Master Duel is his favorite. And this is Robert's first feature match. Let's duel. Casters?
Thank you so much, Jackie. Good luck to both Robert and Pascal. I do want to make a note that not only is Robert playing Mimighoul, but his favorite card's also Meow Meow Mew, a Prank Kids card, one of my favorite archetypes. That's awesome to see. But of course, Pascal is piloting the Mimighoul Goblin deck that we've been seeing a little bit this weekend. Not necessarily the Goblin version. We've seen a lot of pure Mimighoul or even Fiendsmith Mimighoul, but this should be a really awesome match to see.
And then on the Memento side, just some great stuff, because Memento has so many interactions, but so does Mimighoul. So this is going to kind of be a wacky match. Obviously, the in-joke is that, because Stevens love Mimighouls, but we are certainly missing our Mimighoul master, so shout-outs to him wherever he is.
Stephen Kangas is definitely jealous of this matchup that we have. And let's make him even more jealous, okay? Everyone at home.
Absolutely. But getting into it, though, this is going to be really interesting because, again, Memento is becoming increasingly popular. We've seen there's still a lot of competitors who are rocking out different versions of it, just like you said. And the reason why the deck just manages to keep going the distance is it has so many interesting and unique card effects. But Mimighoul has exactly that, too. It has a lot of stuff. I would be not surprised if we have to, pick up a few cards and read it. No shade on that. But, Mimighoul is kind of a little bit of a control deck, and Memento likes to push through things. So it'll be interesting to see who really controls the tempo of this duel.
There's going to be some really powerful lockdown cards potentially coming out of Robert's side with this Mimighoul deck. Things like Room, things like Throne, being able to kind of stymie your opponent and give them pseudo-floodgate-like effects will be really interesting to see. But something that Jackie mentioned that I feel like we should touch on here is both these players are 7-2, meaning if they lose this round, they are potentially out of contention for top cut. So this could be a pretty big match. Even though this is round 10, they still have one more round to win after this. First, they got to win this one.
Yep, just got to win and in, but they've got 2 rounds of Swiss ahead, so it's not just going to be this round, but the next one. And both duelists seem like they've kind of, eased up there. Robert obviously happened to be there. Pascal very stone-faced at first, but definitely starting to relax up there. A lot of people have nerves of the featured stage, right? Maybe because you who can hear my voice are watching down there in the chat. But it's actually not as weird as you think. You're up there, you have your own judge staff, you have a lot of breathing room, there's not really anybody. And as we've heard from some duels, once they get up there, they do kind of just lock in.
And this is day 2, so if there was ever a time to lock in, today is the day for these duelists.
Oh,
Best of luck to all of them, of course.
That'll be a good one once it gets going, but it seems like we are still just getting at the ready here. Duelists are shuffled up, have presented their decks and ready to cut, and we'll get that coveted dice roll. Now, it's interesting because both decks can kind of go second, both decks can kind of go first, so it's anybody's game here.
Yeah, it really just depends on kind of what your opponent establishes, like you said. Is Mimighoul going to be able to establish that sort of lockdown board that we know it's able to do? Or is Memento going to be able just to power through all that and have a powerful first turn board that stops the Robert from being able to play?
Absolutely. Just getting ready there, but looks like it is time to duel as we go into game 1 of round 10 of YCS Houston. Pressure's on. Let's see those dice rolls.
11. That's a pretty good start there for Pascal.
Not a bad way to be. Robert coming a little short there with an 8.
All right. Good luck to you. Good luck.
Pascal loudly exclaiming that he's going to go first. That is a Memento player's best outcome for sure.
Definitely lets you get a lot of setup there. And one of the other things, though, is your deck has so much pieces of the engine in Mimighoul, there may not actually be any points of interaction. So we're starting off with Darkblade here.
So there we see the Darkblade coming down, using its effect here to destroy itself and get another Memento card. Going to get that Anguish out of the deck. I actually saw an interesting kind of flash there from Pascal's deck. Speedroid Terror Top. I'd be seeing a bit of a Speedroid engine in this deck, not only goblins. Cool.
It looks like it's good. Taking a look over at Robert's hand, there's not necessarily a lot that can interact. Plenty of spells and a few Mimighouls, but not much else. So Sleepy hitting the board here. I think it's time for a little fusion summon.
That was the effect of Sleepy to special, I believe, right? So now we're going to be using its effect here to fusion. We're going to use 3 monsters. Wow. The Gaddock, the Achihuron, and the Sleepy itself to go into Creation King. Yep, and then we're going to chain to the effect of Creation King Gaddock to summon from the graveyard, and this will allow Creation King to now send 3 cards from our deck or extra deck to the graveyard. We're going to start off with a fusion, as well as a combined creation. Probably want to get something like Goblin or something like Mace or something like Yeah, Mace seems like a really good way just to have a guaranteed interaction on Robert's next turn.
Just an excellent way to set up there. It's such a crazy card that has gotten so much done this tournament. We've seen so much good Memento play.
Yep, on a new chain there, Gaddock will add back that fusion from the graveyard as it has now hit the field.
Yeah, pop special.
So we're going to go ahead and destroy the special summon there, get rid of the Creation King to bring back the Mace there. Going to banish the Mace to bring out the Memento Miklan's field spell from the deck.
So far, Pascal has not hit any sort of speed bumps on his way to fulfilling the Memento combo. Let's see if he can keep going.
Might be just all gas and no brakes, but that's not necessarily a bad thing for Memento. They do have interactions that they can use to play through stuff, but it's just not going to be the same as just dropping down an Ash Blossom and Joyous Springer and a Biru, because that just hasn't come up yet.
Destroy one Memento on the field and then add a Memento card to my hand.
Yep, just getting clarification there on what these effects do. Always important when you're communicating with your opponent to always just clarify, like, what are you about to do right now, so that way I can best tailor my response.
Definitely would rather ask than be told or find out the hard way, right? So we are going to get the Seahorse there, the Memento Tatsuno Toshigo. And just feels really strong on the Memento side right now. Just uninterrupted play, card after card after card dropping down. So I feel, you know, since you don't know what your opponent has, do you think that Pascal is going to set up the Cranium Burst combo? We haven't seen every Memento duelist even use that.
Well, we have seen this card before. Goblin's Breaker Grand Breakout, going to be getting that Momentum Goblin from the deck by sending the Mace back to the graveyard. So I'm not sure how far Pascal's deck can go, because it looks like he's playing a lot of sub-engines that aren't just Memento. So maybe he doesn't have room for cards like Cranium Burst, but if he was going to play it, now's as good a time as any, given how unfettered he's been able to play so far.
It's a card that can sometimes get diminishing returns there, right? It does nothing unless you have Combined Creation on the field, so it looks like he's just not going for that just yet. In fact, I don't even see it in the deck as he's sort of scrolling through as he sends his Memento Fusion to the graveyard.
I mean, at this point, we sent so many cards from our deck to the graveyard, we barely have any deck left.
That's true, that's true.
And also trigger spell.
Yep, so we're going to use Akihuron in the field spell here. Going to put Sleepy back on the board. And we're going to add Mace back to the hand, like I mentioned earlier. That's a really good way for him to kind of change of heart during his opponent's turn and steal one of their monsters.
Memento Miklan really feeling like a different type of field spell than most. But hey, speaking of different stuff, Goblin Bikers, is that a big Gabonga?
That is a big Gabonga, and oh my gosh, Robert with the Imperm at the perfect time to stop that big Gabonga and unlocking maybe more of the Goblin plays that Pascal might have access to. I've never seen that kind of big Goblin engine before, but going into big Gabonga, he's probably going to search for another kind of monster that can let him extend, maybe like a Doug Charger or something.
Maybe, and now that Goblin Biker Big Gabonga honestly makes the rest of the deck make sense. When we saw the Speedroid Terror Top, what were the level 3s about?
Right.
Well, this is what the level 3s are about, giving you access to those Goblin Biker cards and using that as a backdoor to get into your Memento Goblin.
But Pascal's like, no worries, I still have plenty of Memento cards. Let's go ahead and use this fusion here, put some of those many names that I have in the graveyard back in the deck. We're going to go ahead and put Tatsuno Toshigo as well as Gaddock back into the deck, and hopefully bring out Twin Dragon here, and just get even more digging into our Memento engine.
Certainly a powerful, sometimes vulnerable deck, right? A Dimension Shifter is not a great time for this deck, but it still can get a lot done. So we are going to go ahead and say goodbye to our Memento Twin Dragon here, and say hello to 2 new Memento cards.
Let's see, what names have we not used yet? We haven't used, we've already used Goblin, but not the Goblin in hand effect to protect from targeting. But
yes, but that could only be used on the opponent's turn, but that means he's setting up to just make sure, hey, whatever you're going to do, we ain't doing that here.
Exactly, and then maybe like another Anguish probably, just for follow-up, or Darkblade, or, yeah, exactly.
Darkblade. Darkblade is a great way to start the combo. You could go into Anguish first, but then you would just miss an opportunity to get another Memento name to the graveyard, which is obviously very important for Combined Creation.
And then we see that Darkblade being summoned back out to the field.
Use fusion in the graveyard.
Yep, now we're going to use the graveyard effect of fusion. Sure. We're going to get rid of the big Gabonga. Unfortunately, being Imperm, that big Gabonga is not going to be very useful to Pascal.
No, it is not, but we are going to go ahead and bring out the Bone Party. Possibly for extension, maybe it's going to be used just to push the envelope a little further, but we're sending 2 monsters to the graveyard. I feel like SP Little Knight has been very common in the Memento boards because everything else with the Combined Creation is just fine, and the SP Little Knight adds just a little bit of protection for that too.
Yeah, like what more do you need, you know, besides a Combined Creation and an SP Little Knight? 5,000 attack and a way to banish something. Plus, who knows how many interactions he has in hand now with the Mace, the protection with the Goblin, and who knows what else.
Oh yeah, a searchable Change of Heart you can activate on your opponent's turn. That is incredible. And the non-targeting from the Goblin, too, is honestly really great as well. And there are a lot of targeting cards in the form, but there's also not a lot. The Malice matchup can be kind of difficult, so if Pascal makes it out of this duel alive, he still will have his work cut out for him.
Proceed to end phase and end phase set.
So we're going to go and set in the end phase with the Memento Mictlan, and the Memento Infusion goes face down.
Okay, and we have seen before that some of these Memento decks play really interesting fusion monsters, things like Guardian Chimera and whatnot, so those could be also extra interactions that Robert might need to take into account during his opponent's turn. But there we see 1-for-1 pitching Mimical Archfiend from the hand, and I bet you Pascal's like, oh, this is what I'm playing against? Okay, give me a second to think here. What are you going to do to me?
So you can't target Memento.
So no targeting, that's right. Beautiful 1-for-1 art there featuring Sonic Chick. Not to throw shade on the Samsara Lotus coming out of the original 1-for-1 art. Let's
Sonic
begin a
Chick is so
1-for-1.
adorable.
It is, it is. Let's go ahead and grab our
you have-
Mimicool Dragon.
Yeah, he's on summon. I
Okay,
can
so
add-
you your
yeah.
first.
Effect to add a Mimical spell sharp.
Effect to.
Yep, so there we go. We're just naming the chain links here because Robert's turn player is going to be chain 1 Dragon, and then I believe Pascal's going to chain 2 Combined Creation.
Yeah, effect discuss something from graveyard. Sure.
Yeah,
That's
this one
right.
special, a Mimigool from the graveyard. A Memento. All these
A
double
lot of
M
M's
names are
here.
getting me.
But we do have our Mementalton Anguish there, and that means he could grab pretty much anything for
Anguish?
backup or well, I mean, he's already got the mace, so I guess we'll let his cards do the talking for us.
I mean, honestly, I bet you Robert's fine with him taking his cards. I'm going to give you cards anyway. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. But grabbing the Sleepy feels good. You can go ahead and have it jump into the fray. Memento being destroyed. We'll sort of clear that condition, let it special summon, let it fuse, and it's already got the Memento Infusion face down on the field, so Pascal in pretty good shape here. But we've got our Mimigool decisions to make here.
Mimigool Maker is basically a custom card for the Mimigool archetype. It'll essentially allow 2 monsters to enter the field, 1 on the opponent's field and 1 on your own field. Sorry, 1 into your hand, I should say. But the one you give your opponent usually is not going to be a good thing.
Choices, choices.
We got Slime
There
here
are 2
and
roads. Which one do you
Archfiend.
take?
Odd, even. Yep.
So we're going to roll the dice here. We'll random decision.
All right,
It's
so that
odd.
means Pascal will get Archfiend. Yes, yeah. So Pascal gets Archfiend set face down, and then Robert gets Slime added to his
Split these
hand.
up,
No.
Don't
On my
always see
card.
Slime. Still not a bad card, though, for sure. Being
Yeah,
able
it's
to
basically like
special
an extra
another
body
Mimigool.
for him that he can use to either go into Xyz or Link plays.
so nothing can activate right now. Right?
Right.
Okay.
Do you see a triple tactics thrust in the hand? Maybe 2 copies, actually.
Activate thrusts.
That's a really good card in this deck, is it can search all your really powerful spell cards like Maker, but we also know there's plenty of interesting cards you can use to kind of counter your opponent's board, like Talent, like 1-for-1 you can also grab as well. I think here he's probably just going to grab Talent, and he might take the Combined Creation and just switch it to attack mode and deal some damage.
You certainly can. Now, because it is not alone, it is not able to attack all monsters on the field. That's certainly a cool trick you can do at home if you happen to play against a Mimigool player, or excuse me, Memento player. Now I'm doing it.
They literally have the double M's. Oh my goodness.
Honestly, draw 2 is fine.
Oh, going to draw 2. Okay, so just getting a little bit more gas in the tank. It's true that with the 2 copies of Triple Tactics Thrust, there's not much to do. I see an Ash Blossom and Joy Spring, and I believe a Droll and Lockbird that was just drawn. Also, level 1 can be helpful, but maybe not what he needs now.
Very
Effect
true.
of slime to summon on my field to control 4 monsters than me.
Yep, because
Does that have any
Pascal has
effect
more
on
monsters, Slime's going to be coming out as a free summon. This could let him go into Giant
Some bird is
Mimigool, get
fine.
extra monsters.
Anything when it's destroyed-
He
I
still
mean,
has not committed
summon
his
is
normal
fine.
summon for turn, and if he
Anything
gets his own
on
Archfiend out of deck to flip over his opponent's Archfiend, that could be ways for him to get even more advantage.
To activate Memento Fusion.
Sure.
Oh, this could be the Guardian Chimera sending 1, 2.
Yes.
Oh, what an interesting way to get rid of the Mimigools off the field. It's just a fusion summon.
Yep.
I'm going to attempt to use Guardian Chimera's effect.
Yep, fun fact, guys, you can fusion summon using set monsters, but we're going to Ash the Guardian Chimera because it does include an effective draw.
Banish SP. And 2.
So very heads-up play, preventing any Xyz summon if you get rid of those 2 face-up level 1 monsters. And we haven't used our normal summon yet, so that really was a Troll and Lockbird. I see it could just be normal summoned in order to keep Robert's plays going there, but it looks like we're going to say goodbye to the Slime for now.
Does Giant Mimigool need to have, no, only 2 level 1 monsters. That means you can still go into it here, even if he had to commit his normal summon to Droll, and there it is.
There's the draw. It's a level 1. Oh, but we're getting the Bone Party going, so I wonder what monster would be used now in order to keep that Xyz summon from happening. I mean, obviously using Memento Mace is huge because you could just take your opponent's monster and then they wouldn't have 2 level 1s. And you know your opponent's kind of in a desperation phase when they are normal summoning Droll and Lockbird.
You're like, this is probably not going to be good for me if I let you keep playing because this is your last effort, so let's just stop you right here.
Chainlink 1 Gaddy, Chainlink 2 Sleepy.
Yep, so because Sleepy was destroyed, it'll have its own effect. Bone Party being able to destroy from the field and the hand is so nice.
Oh, it's an incredible card. Just getting rid of another name there.
Want to fill that yard up nice and deep.
Oh, we're going to fuse it off. Okay, so really saving the mace and not trying to just steal the monster, doing something cute. Instead, fusing to make a Creation King.
Creation King, chain to Gaddy. Sure.
Yep, and now we're going to be able to send some more cards with the Creation King here. I believe in order for it to pop, you need to be able to destroy something on your own field, right?
Yes, you have to get rid of some of your own Memento monsters, and in exchange, you get to destroy the same number of cards on their side of the field. But as you see, there's plenty of Memento monsters, and there's, even if you just got rid of the Gaddick, that would be enough. But he's going to do both to get rid of both.
And there's no reason not to have Creation King in your yard anyway. You get so much value out of doing that.
Definitely a powerful monster there. Yeah. Really rounds out the Memento strategy these last couple of support cards they've received, including Akihiran.
Yeah, the recycling of the resources that the Memento deck has is just so impressive.
Well, I mean, it's a deck about coming back from the dead. Certainly they do just that.
Yep, so during the end phase, the SP and the Slime will come back, and then it goes over to Pascal's turn. And I think this is as simple as switch everything to attack mode and
start getting in there, yeah.
Get in there.
Set the face down card. I didn't catch what it was. I wonder if it is just a set triple tactics thrust.
It could be like, if it is a trap card, it could be Mimigul Room, which is a book, and that can also potentially summon him more Mimigul monsters and maybe keep Robert alive, but it'll depend here on what he actually is setting and how far Pascal's willing to play around the potential of that.
Sure.
So we're going to go ahead and get both the effects of Akihiran and the Memento Mictlan. So special summoning monster from the grave, and then going to go ahead and add there, but looks like we'll take the Memento Infusion from the Banishment.
Ooh, but there we see the other secret effect of Darkblade, being able to destroy spell and trap cards.
Charging in there. This is going to force something. Do you reveal that card? Robert considering his options.
It is the Mimigul Room. This will allow him to book something in play, but I don't know if he targets something that hasn't been summoned this turn, if he'll be able to flip it back face up.
Now, he does also get to special summon a Mimigul monster, so maybe that'll be enough to keep him in the duel, but it just seems like, as you say, the sun is getting real low here.
Yep, so Pascal's just debating if he wants to chain anything to this. So
yeah, I was going to let him down.
Only use 1 effect per turn, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So just clarifying that the effective book will not be able to be activated.
That's right. That's no targeting. That definitely helps. But it is change 1 face-up monster, so it does, yeah, still flip down.
Yep, so he gets the special summon monster to Pascal's field, clogging up his zones, which is really important, but also setting the Darkblade. It was summoned this turn, so it couldn't be put back up. Easiest way to do that.
That is correct there. But there's still so much power on the field. If the SP Little Knight's just able to attack over the slime.
But it is worth noting that unless Pascal commits to Link summoning, he won't be able to, or I guess another fusion summon potentially, he won't be able to have enough zones to start normal summoning from this point forward. So he might not have enough damage right now.
Well, 5,000 and 3,300 from the Chimera feel pretty good. With the 500 defense of the slime, that may be enough if SP Little Knight clears it out.
Okay, that's the only thing?
That's one thing I can use right
now. Robert may just be finding information out here, though, just seeing how does my opponent play in this situation. I may not be able to get out of it, but I need to know what's going on.
Yeah, it's 500?
500, yep.
Battle phase.
All right, we'll go straight to battle phase. We have 16.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Robert not knowing the 5,000 attack of Combined Creation. All of a sudden now that makes sense. That
I was sitting here like, man, Robert seems really confident right now. Like, I don't think he's going to lose this turn, Steven. Oh, no, he just didn't know how much that monster has per attack points.
A little smile there flashed on Pascal's face as he gets right back into side decking there. Definitely adds a little bit of breath back into his lungs. But yeah, it's an incredible card. Yeah, it's 5,000 attack. I guess 1,000 for each of the Memento monsters you shuffle back from the graveyard into the deck or extra deck respectively. But now they've got to get side decking, and it's interesting. Not a lot of people pack some outs for a Memento deck, and not a lot of people do the same for a Mimigul deck.
Yeah, like I like of all the popular, side deck cards that we've been seeing in this format, things like Lancia, things like Chaos Hunter, things like Dusters, or Lightning Storms. I feel like While yes, some of those cards are always really useful, whether you're going first or second, doesn't really matter. But against these specific matchups, I'm not sure how useful they'll really be because everything is either graveyard-centric or face-down-centric, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure how much removal we have for face-down defense position monsters.
I mean, if Robert pulls out something wacky, that's cool, but if Pascal drops, like, Nobleman of Crossout, he is just absolutely my hero. Not to recommend that, but it is certainly an option there to clear out some unfriendly monsters.
Going back to Ultimate Time Wizard 2005 with a play like that, we love to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. But that was then and this is now. Both duelists have to stay locked in, of course, to make sure they continue to advance through the tournament. You know, obviously it's cool to see the decks doing well, but you want to go the distance. And even if you get through and scrape by at the bottom of the bracket, you're still in the top cut. So every duel counts.
Honestly, I was really nice to see how much Pascal was able to do with pretty much just the pure Memento engine. He was this close to unlocking all of his Goblin cards, but Robert stopped him from getting that extra bit put on top. Who knows what we might be able to see in games 2 and 3.
Well, it is anybody's game here, but obviously I think Pascal is going to take an opportunity to go first there, get some kind of Mimighoul stuff set up, and it'll be helpful for sure if he gets a chance, but then once we get to game 3 again, it could be anybody's game.
Right now, if you're Robert, I think you really want to prioritize sort of keeping Pascal's graveyard clear, whether that's stopping him from summoning cards, whether it's like Mimical Room or whatever else, or it's stopping him from just like having a graveyard potentially with cards that can banish cards from his graveyard. Things like Dimension Shifter could be an option for this deck. I know people have played that in the past when playing Mimighoul.
Well, we've also talked about how Memento can be its own worst enemy because so many of the vital and necessary cards, if drawn together, they can just spell pure doom, right? Imagine your hand is Mementotlin Akihiron and the Kutlika Combined Creation, and maybe, you know, a Goblin whose effect gets negated and not much else. If it's that, you really don't have much of a turn, so there's a possibility that it just doesn't happen. The same thing, though, could be said about Mimighouls, right? If you have a stutter step, your opponent stops you from those first initial Mimighoul plays, you don't really necessarily have much else if you've already used up your normal summon.
I mean, we saw as long as Robert wasn't able to get the Giant, there was really no extension he had. But let's see how that goes for game 2 here with Robert and Pascal. I don't know how Robert's going to choose here, but I think he's going to be more comfortable going first.
Definitely respect between both players. Let's see what's going on here as they draw 5.
All right, so Robert has chosen to go first, and he's leading off with the Mimighoul Throne. That's going to be the awesome field spell for the deck.
Okay.
Sorry, Dungeon, Mimighoul Dungeon. Mimighoul Throne's the new Xyz monster.
That's right, that's right. But we might be sitting on the throne. Oh, and both players got Droll and Lockbird, and that makes sense.
Ooh, and that makes that Search Dragon just a little bit worse as a normal summon because now it won't really do anything because it won't be able to search for that spell card.
So going to activate the Triple Tactics Thrust here.
And this luckily sets from deck. Does not add to hand, so you can dodge Droll and Lockbird with it.
But are we going for an in-engine spell or trap card? Or are we going for something like different Dimension Ground or Dimensional Barrier?
That's true. We are post-side now. When you main deck cards like Thrust, it just unlocks so many more potential for you in games 2 and 3 to sort of stymie your opponent.
Definitely hit me with that good.
Absolutely. Now, I think
We're
I
just
saw
going to be getting
Harpy's...
infinite impermanence here off the Thrust.
Ah, I see. I think I saw Harpy's Feather Storm as he was cycling through his deck. That cool color yellow just sort of splashed out there. Didn't choose to use it, right? Not a lot of Wing Beasts here, but interesting to see that Robert is choosing some just stuff, right? I mean, that's the thing about Mimighoul. You have so many different options than anybody else in the tournament scene.
And Thrust really makes your deck just a bit more flexible like that too, which is really nice. But there, Robert's got a pass. So unfortunately, Droll and Lockbird, the patented turn skip interaction has worked against Robert here. Let's see if Pascal can capitalize. Starting off with Anguish, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that'll be a great starter there. Dark Blade, the only better one. But looks like we're going to take a look here and go ahead and say yes. We know that Droll and Lockbird is in Robert's hand, and that will slow down Memento quite a bit.
Pascal's like, anything you can do, I can do as well.
Oh, and with that rarity, maybe he's thinking better in his head.
Now, Robert's hoping that this will be enough to stop Pascal. That might be enough to sort of stop him from getting extra extension, but being able to send cards from the deck to the graveyard is really all Pascal needs to get some plays going. We're just clarifying here how Mimighoul Dungeon works. Basically, Pascal needs to control a set monster in order to not be allowed to normal summon, but right now there isn't one, so the other effect doesn't really matter. But in the future, it's worth keeping in mind. Ooh, but there we see the Triple Tactics Talent coming from Pascal.
Ooh, for the reveal.
Having him reveal the hand.
Dragon and Maker.
Yep, there it is. He's just reading there. Mimighoul Master, yeah. He's like the really like pseudo-boss monster for the deck. He can become really big, and he on summon can like let you search for extra cards, which is pretty nice. But But yeah, Dragon's definitely the bigger threat here because that gets you to Maker, and Maker gets you to everything else.
Absolutely. Robert smiling there, just in good spirits, happy to be on the featured match stage for the first time, but definitely trying his best here.
He's day 2ing with Mimigul. That's already an accomplishment. Great job.
Yeah.
You don't do nothing on res.
No, nothing else.
Yeah, as we learned yesterday, it is an ignition effect. And there we have Mimigul Room coming down.
Spell summon a monster on either no field or
That's huge. Being able to flip down the Tatsuno Toshigo before it uses its effect could stop, because remember, Droll Lockbird only stops adding cards from the deck to the hand. Doesn't say nothing about sending cards from the deck to the graveyard.
And what's cool is Robert could summon a Mimigul monster to his own field because he's going to be booking or like turning face down the Tatsuno Toshigo.
For a set monster, a monster that was summoned, special monster that was summoned that turn cannot attack.
And it doesn't negate effects or anything.
It does not negate that.
Yeah, it's like a pseudo at battle phase sort of floodgate. Stops people from attacking you if they were summoned this turn.
Kind of reminds me of some of those early Bakura cards, right? The Dark Door, etc., just slowing you down, but not necessarily stopping you permanently.
Very importantly, I believe you need to control a set monster first. So
Correct, but he's about to. If this resolves, it'll be able to flip down one of those monsters. I would imagine you've got to go for that Seahorse.
now, I think the question you're asking, Robert, is does Pascal have Mehmet Total Infusion? Because if he does, giving him a monster that he can't fuse with might be really important. But here we're going to give him the Archfiend and give him 2 set monsters total. Oh, you want to know why? Because Robert has access to Room on the following turn to flip up the monster that he just set, so he'll be able to get more advantage by just giving him the monster and maybe have a higher likelihood of stymieing him with his own field spell. But there we see the Bone Party. I believe it only can destroy face-up cards, right?
Correct, because it has to have that name, and so while the card's
Right.
face down, it doesn't have a name tag on.
It doesn't say tribute or anything, so yeah.
Correct, it's destroy.
So Bone Party destroying Sleepy there is pretty huge because Sleepy could be able to fusion summon once this cycle gets going here.
Yeah, choosing wisely as he goes through the deck. You do not want to make a misstep, even if you're up one game. Pascal wanting to make sure that this goes the right way. And so it looks like the card we're choosing is...
We've already normal summoned. We probably want something like, I don't know, Gaddock? No, probably
He's
not.
got
Maybe-
the Gaddock at the front, so it seems like that's the one he wants to do, but maybe we're swapping out. Oh,
Another
Darkblade
Darkblade.
for the destruction.
Gonna try to destroy the field spell just to get all that funniness out of the way so we can keep playing unfettered.
We're gonna go.
But we know Robert still has that Imperm face down. He could just use that to stop the Darkblade.
Certainly could.
Oh, we're not gonna be Darkblading. We're just gonna be using the effect of Bone Party to send. Sorry, to Sleepy to
Interesting.
send.
I'm going to attempt to use Darkblade to spell system.
Oh, it's an ignition effect, not on summon.
okay,
The-
gotcha,
the
gotcha.
other effect is on summon.
That's right, that's right. So it's going to be destroying. Now it's tough. Even Robert's like, oh man.
Oh yeah, Darkblade doesn't target, huh? Oh no.
Yeah,
Using the
so he's
effect
not
to send.
using the
I
discard
see.
effect to destroy the spell or trap on the field, but he is using the destruction effect to special summon a level 3 or lower
Right,
Memento
because we started with
monster.
Anguish, not with Darkblade. That was last game when we started with Darkblade. I see.
You typically want to start with Darkblade, but
Right,
that's what
attempt
makes
to use
Memento
Gaddock
so
first.
cool is that it's almost like playing like a free-form video game. You just play whatever cards you want in whatever order you want.
Yeah.
100%. And here we're going to add back the Sleepy. This will let us have access to our fusion plays still, which is pretty nice. Can Sleepy use face-down monsters to fuse? I would assume since it's a fusion summon
yes,
you can.
it should
yeah,
be
it's
able
a-
to, because even with Guardian Chimera, right, it doesn't specify with what it's doing. But all
attempt to use
monsters
Anguish
in fusion
to
summons,
destroy
unless it's
Memento
looking for
field,
something specific, they can always be used face down because you fusion summon on the resolution of the effect,
100%.
not as a cost.
Yes, 100%.
If that makes sense to the chat, my apologies.
No. It's always interesting, you know, when you have set monsters incorporating with all these new summon mechanics that we've had ever since 2018. It's really interesting to sort of see how you can combat that style of play. This is what Mimikul is always about, you know, is giving your opponent things that they think are gifts, but actually are harder to use than you might think.
I really love how Mimigul has this sort of like dungeon master feel, right? Where you're like, you encounter a dungeon, you open the treasure chest, bad things happen, right? You're almost telling a story. But Memento have us a story to tell too. They are just going to keep on coming.
And then there's a dragon. you know?
Yes, and then it's a big old dragon made of bones.
So I think Robert is just debating if he wants to interact with this Goblin's effect here. And he does. He's going to imperm the Goblin.
Attempt
Interesting.
to use Sleepy to fusion summon.
But now, very few cards left. We're still under the effect of Droll and Lockbird. Nobody forget.
I'm going to chain link 1 Creation King, chain 2 Gaddock to plus summon itself back.
Yep, so they have the Chain Links 2 Gaddock to summon back, and the Creation King to send more cards from the deck to the graveyard, which again, Drone Lockbird does not stop, and like I said earlier, that's all Memento needs to do.
This could be it. There's certainly enough Memento names that if you just throw down a few, including the combined creation, then all of a sudden 5,000 plus 3,000 equals 8,000 last I checked my math.
Creation King. Go ahead and destroy
It is worth noting that any monster that social summon this turn cannot attack currently while there's a set card, but unlike, I was just about to say, until that dungeon is cleared, Pascal is going to have a little bit of trouble
That's
going for game
right.
this turn.
That's the thing, it feels like Swords of Revealing Light, but just like Swords of Revealing Light, it can be removed from the field and no longer has that protection. So now we're seeing those 5 names.
And now Pascal has more than enough damage in play to go for game here. We're going to attack for 30, and we're going to attack for 5k, and that's game. Pascal takes it, guarantees his game win here, going up to 8. Still needs 1 more to potentially get in contention for top 32.
Look at that smile. If you roll back the VOD, Pascal did not look like that at the beginning of this duel. He was
focused.
locked in, super serious. But now that you see him, all smiles, ready to represent his scene and ready to keep on going. And great stuff. Just showing that, yeah, big monsters get it done and keeping his cool against a very wild deck there. But Robert, obviously no slouch. Getting day 2 with Mimigul. A lot of people who can hear my voice haven't done that yet, that's for sure.
Hey, congratulations to both players here. It's really an accomplishment to be day 2ing a YCS at all, but really happy to see an expert like Pascal who uses the Memento deck to its fullest potential get the win here today.
Absolutely. So signing the sacred slip there, and soon we'll get to hear from Robert himself, or excuse me, Pascal himself. But just a really cool duel there, and it goes to show you, you know, we're not fibbing when we say that there are multiple decks in this format that can make it to day 2 and go the distance. There's a lot of stuff still out there, from Labyrinth, Tombkeeper, to Blue Eyes, to Memento, and hey, even Mimigul's out there too. So I know I say it a million times, and you're like, yes, Steven, I know. But I'm just saying, you can play what you want. You can play what you want.
If you have Yu-Gi-Oh cards, you can duel. And if you can duel, you have the chance to win. Always keep that in mind.
It's all it takes. It's all it takes. Just a duel and a dream, right? But again, we can only crown 1 YCS champion here. So Robert going to go ahead and exit the stage there shortly. And just some really incredible stuff. Absolutely hyped to see it happen.
Oh, yeah, and I know someone who was really hyped and wish he could be here, and that's Stephen Kangas. Getting to see Mimigul live is his favorite thing to do over these YCSs. Sad he couldn't be here, but happy I could share it with him and make him jealous.
That's how you know we're honest, by the way. We keep telling you, you need to be here. Now we're telling our friends they need to be here. So
Yeah.
you get the message.
We
But
hold everybody accountable, even ourselves.
yeah, absolutely. But really just great stuff here. And again, we've seen some really cool stuff out there in the field too. And public events are getting warmed up too. I've been seeing all the calls out there. Hopefully people do enter the 3v3 tournaments.
Or all the regional flights and the
Oh,
giant cards
yeah,
that are happening
that's
today.
right.
Those are always really big.
Yeah, that's the thing. People are like, well, I don't have my invite yet. And I'm like, go get it. You can go get it. There's regional championship qualifiers here at the YCSs. There's even last chance qualifiers, although please don't procrastinate that much. You can definitely enter your regional championships or your local public events here at the YCS. But there's still a long road ahead, and we've still got, you know, another set dropping. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Now and Yu-Gi-Oh! When we get to the qualifiers, that's going to look very different. I'm really excited through and through.
You know, a very different beast. And I will say there is a level of confidence that I really like of someone who's like, I'm just going to win the last chance qualifier and be in no problem. I'm like, you know what? That's a bad idea, but I respect it. You should always be dueling. Always give yourself the most chances possible.
Though they've got that like anime plot armor, right? They're like, no, because I made it from the last chance qualifier, I got there on Friday. I went to Indianapolis on July 11th through July 13th and got there, and that's the road. I mean, I'm sure somebody's done it. Remember last year, we had somebody who missed their flight just hoping to make it, and they did punch their ticket to the World Championship. So maybe you're headed to Paris too, friends.
The bigger the deal of tournament, the better I'll show up. People think that way all the time. Makes a lot of sense to me.
Why not? It's one of those things where duelists come from all walks of life. They're all different, you know, stories to be told here. So I'm really excited to see once we do get our winner's interview what his story is. But man, coming all the way from Chicago down to Houston, that's a long flight for sure. And you know, Robert coming from the East Coast too. There's just so many people from everywhere. You think it's YCS Houston, but this is really an international fair. People from all over, everywhere coming down here.
Oh yeah, these are essentially pseudo-conventions that celebrate Yu-Gi-Oh! While also giving players the opportunity to make all that hard work, all that dueling, ever worth it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, it really doesn't happen without the duelists, you know? Like, we're not just trying to glaze on you, like, this is for you. I don't know if you know that, but this is, like, for you. And there really isn't, like, a Yu-Gi-Oh! Without a you. So thank you so much, because it's just been a wild ride, just getting to see everybody and meet everybody and talk to everybody. But speaking of talking, think it's time to talk to somebody special. You want to take it?
Oh, yeah. Let's go ahead and throw over to Jackie and get our winner's interview with Pascal.
Thank you, Stevens. That's right. I am with Pascal. All smiles right now. Congratulations on the victory. How does this feel? This is huge.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just getting rid of like the pregame jitters and just like really focusing on like making the right plays and stuff. So, but yeah, I'm feeling pretty good right now.
And it was a swift victory. I'm sure you're feeling very confident right now. Can you talk to me a little bit about using the Memento deck? A little unexpected, I think.
Mm-hmm. It's a complicated deck, but you just have to know what every single like little effect does because all the effects matter because they're very relevant at certain points of the game. So if you don't know when to use them, it's gonna be really hard to get far with the deck.
Are you pretty familiar then with this deck?
Yeah, I've been playing it for about a year, so I got pretty decent with it. So hopefully it could keep going on like that.
It sounds like it's working. How are you feeling about the rest of the tournament? Are you feeling confidence now? Are you nervous?
Yeah, pretty confident. I think if as long as I don't break it, I could actually see some playable cards, and I play my cards well. There's no reason I can't, get close to top cut and maybe even win potentially. So.
And feature match up here with the lights, enjoying this YCS. Tell me a little bit about the atmosphere here and what you're really enjoying.
It's exciting. Like a lot of people just ready to play and just. I really like asking me. I can't complain about it. So.
Awesome. Is there anyone you want to shout out? Anything you want to say to everyone watching at home?
Shout out to my brother. He gives me a lot of my cards. Carl. he has a card business and everything. So it's just like it's easy for me to just like get into the game and get whatever cards I need to play. So.
Yu-Gi-Oh runs in the family. We love that. Congratulations, Pascal. I'm going to send it back to our casters.
Thank